Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
But I want to start with this. I want to speak from the heart for a moment. We see your phone calls coming in, and I really want to speak from the heart. I don't know what's going on. When I drive through a community, any community throughout this country, and I see an American flag, I feel enormous pride. I feel safe. And generally, when I look at the house that has the flag flying, it's a home where you know that the homeowner is taking care of his or her property. So I feel good. I feel patriotic, especially if I see 2 or 3 on a single block. No matter where I go, it's something that makes me feel real good. And I say this as someone who has been a seasoned traveler all over the world. Nothing feels as good as when you come home back to America and you see that American flag. Now, I want you to compare that to hateful Sonny Holston on The View. I don't know where they got these clowns from. They need to send them back. What I just said about the American flag, Sonny Holston says just the opposite. Listen to this.
There are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy, and that should never be the symbol of white supremacy, but they have weaponized.
Because the flag belongs to all of us.
It does belong to all of us.
So I stand by that. Yeah, it's something you've said and been very consistent about, and I've heard it from other people of color for sure.
Well, I was going to say what's interesting is that this is not a new conversation amongst the black community, in the black community.
So Sonny Holston declaring that she gets nervous when she sees an American flag. Folks, I'll just say this. Don't you see the con? Sonny Holston is a multi-millionaire. Her husband is a doctor. Do you think she has anything relatable to your life except running game, telling you what you want to hear? 800-848-9222. So just minutes ago, Lindsey Graham's sister was sworn in to the Senate, and I say bravo to her. No one knows the senator better than his sister. She is not the first family member to be sworn in after something happens to a U.S. senator. Bravo to President Trump for supporting her. And she seems like a normal American that can bring that to the United States Senate. At least now on an interim basis, she's been sworn in. I do have to admit something. I'm about to start with your telephone calls in just a moment on this hot, hot summer day. When I first heard about Senator Graham, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, as I said on the Midnight Show, you listen to this program, you know conspiracies turn me off. They really do. I think you're nutty if you believe in conspiracies. But in this case, I said, wait a New York minute. This man comes back from Ukraine and all of this happens in a matter of minutes and hours. Well, President Trump speaking out, declaring that in all likelihood this is hereditary from his father and that no foul play is involved.
You know, he had a problem. His father had a very similar problem, as you know. It's very unique. At first I heard it was clogged arteries, because he did have clogged arteries. He had a problem with that. He was, I wish he took better care of himself. I say, you can solve that problem, but what happened is actually something that's very hard to detect. It was not related to any blockage. It was a totally different thing. And supposedly, and I've watched all the medical reports, I've had the doctors from the White House come in and explain what happened. And this is something that is almost undetectable. And if it happens, there's not much you can do about it. It sounds unfortunate, but there's not much you can do about it. If you look at his father died of the same thing at about the same age. So there was not much. They say it's almost undetectable. You can detect it by if you have a very bad back. That's a sign. It's a bad sign. So if anybody has a bad back, it's a pretty rough thing to think about. But the fact that's one of the primary signs. And he would tell me he had a bad back. But little did anyone realize it was for that. So, and when that bursts, which it did, it burst. There's not much. So I don't see a lot of evil there. I know there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going along, and I don't think the FBI. I think the FBI is wasting their time if they're doing that. Yeah.
So I disagree with the president. I don't think the FBI is wasting their time. I think that you have to look at every option until you're absolutely sure what happened. But again, my radar went up that said something is rotten in Denmark the moment that I heard of the death of Senator Graham, but it appears an hereditary aorta problem that goes back to his father, and it's one that's very hard to detect. And should it happen, you only have minutes, literally, before a death is imminent. And so his sister sworn in to the U.S. Senate. Supreme Court justices, we see all your calls on Capitol Hill. Justice Barrett, Justice Kagan, talking about the threats to justices and that they need more money, in this case $230 million to fund security. This is Justice Barrett.
They have required me to, my children, to think about and see things that children should not have to see or think about. One example is when threats to my life were particularly intense a few years ago around the time of the Dobbs leak. My security detail sent me home with a bulletproof vest, and I carried it into my house, put it into my bedroom, dropped it down on a table, turned around, and my 12-year-old son was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and he wanted to know what it was and why I had it, and I didn't know how to respond because maybe I lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one. It's also been reported in the news that roughly 6 weeks ago, I was the victim of a swatting incident. At that point, my teenage son, one of my teenage sons, opened the door to go out with friends and saw in our street, it was full of police cars, who had responded to a false report of gunshots and raised voices in my home.
And so there you have it. The justice, we'll hear Justice Kagan a bit later. Also, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we will chat live with former Congressman Peter King. I want to skip here, Carlos, soundbites and go to soundbite number 1. The owner of this network, John Catsimatidis, appearing on the morning show here in New York with Sid Rosenberg, discussing that highly controversial immigrant enclave map that Mayor Mamdani put forth and says changes are coming.
You know, they can't torture us. You know why?
Why?
We don't give a crap.
We don't care.
No. You know, I mean, you know what happens? The Jews care the most.
We
the
do.
Italians
because
care
we
a lot.
take the biggest beating. That's why.
But you know why? But then they give you a bigger beating.
I know.
Because when they see you react,
I know.
They say, well, and they laugh. And they go and let's beat him up some more.
I know. No, I know. You're right about that.
You want to beat up me, Astoria? I don't give a crap.
And skipping ahead to soundbite 15, this is actor Robert Davi in terms of from Die Hard, the Hollywood movie. And let's just say he is not a fan of Mamdani.
You jerk. What you did, snub Little Italy, and you want to take down the statues. You're a jerk, Mamdani, and I hope every New York Italian-American and Irish-American spits on you when they see you. I would spit on you if I saw you. Shame on you, you garbage man. Shame on you. Respect the city you're in and understand the people that helped build it.
And so tempers are still running high at Mamdani over this.